Have you ever seen these Cricut Infusible Ink transfer sheets and you've wondered how you can use them? This is what the box looks like on Cricut.com. Today, I'm going to show you how to use Cricut Infusible Ink to make a coffee mug. Now, the design we're going to use today is this one here. Now, this is a full sublimation design. So our design will just be one color, but I wanted to show you what the design looks like as we begin. And this design is available on my Creative Fabrica shop, and the link will be in the show notes and the description. So, one of the things that I love, and one of the reasons why I actually made these coffee designs was for my mom. My mom absolutely loves coffee, and I wanted to give her some coffee mugs with different sayings on them. So I have a whole bunch of them. I have, I think, about 25 different ones. So, anyway, so to begin with, what you are going to need for this project. So obviously you're going to need a Cricut Infusible Ink transfer sheet. So see there. I've chosen one in a really dark color because I think it would look well. So it's actually going to be that color there. Now you notice it's not anywhere near as dark as it is on the sheet. And that's because the ink activates with heat and darkens to its full color when you apply heat to it. So when you see your infusible ink transfer sheet and it's not the same color, don't worry about it. It will be when you are done. You're going to need a weeding tool. I found a brayer helps in terms of getting your transfer paper onto the mat. You are going to need a standard grip mat. I'm not sure with the new Maker 3s and the Explorer Air 3s whether you can just feed the transfer sheet in or not. I am working towards getting one, hoping to have one by the end of January. If you're out there watching, hint, hint, that's my birthday gift for this year. I have to always thank my family. They are so incredibly generous in supporting me in all of these projects that I do and pulling their money together to get some of the things that I need from time to time. You are going to want a sublimation mug. Now, this is the Cricut brand 12-ounce one. I really like the Cricut mugs, but you can also use just a straight sublimation mug. You cannot use a normal ceramic mug from, like, say, Walmart or Dollar Tree or places like that. It specifically has to be a sublimation mug because it has a specific coating on it which allows the ink to absorb in. I remember getting just regular mugs and trying it, and I was so frustrated because it didn't absorb in because I didn't realize you had to have special mugs for it. I thought I was doing something wrong. Well, technically I was. I had the wrong blank, but the technique was correct. You're going to want to clean your mug. Now, when you get the transfer sheets, you get this little sheet here, and it is great for getting the dust off. I also use it with isopropyl alcohol to clean the mug ahead of time in case there is any slight chemicals, debris. I hate it when I say I'm working on that. Debris, grease from your hands. The isopropyl alcohol deletes all of that. And I think that's all. Oh, one last thing. When you get the box of transfer paper, you get this paper in it as well. This goes around the mug when you go to put it in the mug press, so it keeps the ink from transferring to your mug press as well, because infusible ink and sublimation ink loves to go everywhere, and it can be pretty strong. And once it gets inside your machine, then it can start to ruin it. So you're going to use this to wrap it around the mug before you put it in your mug press. So that's all that you need. A lot of this stuff, some of this stuff is just general things like your brayer and your weeder. You should always have isopropyl alcohol. I use it all the time. In fact, this bottle is just about empty. I'm going to have to start my new one. But the other things are just, your transfer sheet and your blank. So let's go to Cricut Design Space and let's get started. Here we are in Cricut Design Space, and the first thing that you want to do is you want to go here to Projects, And look at these cake toppers, these Star Wars cake toppers. I am definitely going to be doing some of these for my kids and my family because they all love Star Wars. But in this case, we're going to scan down here to the mug design setup. You want to click on it. You're going to scan down to where it says finish size. And in this case, we're using the 12-ounce mug, so we want the small straight edge 12-ounce. You're going to click customize. Boy, my pronunciation today sure needs some work. And here you go. So what I love about this is a template that's just going to help you to easily get your design there and ready to go. Now, 2 pieces we are going to hide before we cut the mat. So the green turquoise is going to be cut, and these you're going to hide as well. Now this here shows you the area where if you put it into a mug press, it's going to close around it. When you use a mug press, and I have not used the Cricut mug press yet, that is on my list of things to get. I have a different mug press that a better sub mug press, which actually is a really good mug press as well. But I do want to get the Cricut one. But when you close it up, it doesn't go all the way around the mug. So you want to make sure that you don't go to the very edges where the handle is here, because it will not, it doesn't close enough to get the heat on there to get the ink. Even in this little area here, you'll find that it'll get some heat, so the design will like be faded. So you always want to make sure that you stay within these lines. And if you're using something else besides the Cricut mug press, I'd even go in a little bit further, because I noticed on my mug design, I want to always leave about 3/4 to an inch border between here and where the design starts. And I found that works best on my machine. So again, you always want to make sure that you test out your machine, that you know what it can do. If you're doing something important like a gift or something like that, sometimes it's worth it to buy double of what you need. And I know that's additional cost, but if you're new to Cricut and you're new to doing these types of things, even sometimes when you're experienced, I still make mistakes. So I always buy double. That way I'm ensured that if I make a mistake, I have extra to make what I need. So we're going to upload the design. And I've got it uploaded here. And if you don't know how to upload designs, there is a video that will be linked in the description to show you how to upload designs and what files you need to upload. So in this case, we're going to add this to our canvas. All right, so we want to resize this. Now, the top to the bottom is about 3 3/4 inch high. I like to leave a little bit of a border, so usually maybe about 1/2 inch. So a lot of times I will start the sizing at 2.75 and see what it looks like. And one thing I love about this little guide here is that you can kind of center your design here, so you can see where it may go. Now, in this case, I'm thinking for my machine anyway, I probably want it over just a hair more. So I'm going to do it a little bit off center, but that gives me perfect room. Now, this is a really wide design, so you want to make sure that, you know, you don't bring it over too much. So if you look at this one here, it actually goes pretty far over. I think that's about 3/4 of an inch there, because it is a wider design. So we'll bring it over maybe just a little bit more, so it's not too far over. All right, now if you want the design only on one side of your mug, you're done. You can also put it across the center, but I don't recommend that. You might want to do that if you have a really wide design that's going across the whole mug, but if you're just having one side, put it to the one side so that when a person's holding the mug like this, they can see the design. So I like doing mine on both sides. So I'm just going to hit duplicate here. I'm going to bring it over here. Again, I'm going to kind of center this. I'm not lining it up vertically because I'm going to show you how to do that. So I just want to try and make sure that's about the same width apart from the edge here as it is here. And that looks pretty good. It doesn't have to be exact because nobody's really going to measure it and they can't see, but you want it approximate. You're going to hit select all. No, actually at this point, you want to delete a couple of things or hide a couple of things. So you want to hide this and you want to hide this. Okay, now you're going to hit select all. You're going to hit align center vertically. Make sure it's center vertically because if you do center horizontally, they all go together. And if you just hit center, they all go together. So you want to hit center vertically. No, actually I got to undo this first. Okay, select all, center vertically. And now they're perfectly centered on your design. So the border on the top and the bottom is correct. Now you've hit select all, hit attach. Come on over here to make it. Now here's an important step, especially when you're, for most things that you're doing with infusible ink, sublimation designs, you need to mirror them. So make sure you hit the mirror button. That's the mistake I generally tend to make because I sometimes rushing and not thinking ahead. And I cut it and then I'm like, oh, darn. I actually did that the other day. I was working on something and I cut it the wrong way. And I'm like, oh, I just put so much time into this. Now you're going to pick your materials. Make sure you pick Infusible Ink Transfer Sheets. And I love these warnings that Cricut Design Space gives us. Make sure mirror is on and the material is inked side up. In my machine, I just use the default pressure. I find the more, sometimes it cuts it too far through, especially if my blade is newer. If my blade's older though, sometimes I might pick the more setting just because the blade is getting used. And it is paper. So here's a little hint and tip for you. You're going to go through blades faster the more paper you use. Vinyl, it cuts through easily. Paper takes more effort and it dulls the blade faster. So that's just a little hint and tip for you. So now we're going to go to our machine and we will load it up. I've already got my transfer sheet put onto my mat. So we're just going to load it in. Make sure that when you load it in, it goes below those two tabs here and on the other side. I'm going to click the arrow button to load it in. And let's watch it cut. It has now cut out the design. Now, normally I would tell you to keep this on the mat. Infusible ink transfer sheets are one of the few things that are better to weed off of the mat. So we are going to do this. So you want to actually, when you're trying to get things off your mat, especially cardstock, you want to pull the mat away from the design. It makes it curl a whole lot less. So there's the first sheet. I'll keep the rest because I can do more with that. And we're just going to pull this off here. And put our mat away. All right. Now, here's a couple of hints and tips when it comes to the infusible ink. First of all, you're going to want to remove everything except the color. There's actually two ways you could do the mugs. You could do it where you remove the lettering so the mug is colored and the lettering is white, but it's easier if you haven't done this before, especially with trying to line it up to make sure that the edges adhere properly, because what can happen is if you don't line it up on the mug properly and you're too far over, your edges will all be faded and it looks really bad. So in this case, we are going to remove and just do the color design. Now, the other thing is you can actually crinkle this paper quite a bit because it actually works better. So we're going to remove the main part here. This is always the fun part for me, is trying to separate these two pieces. Oh, there we go. All right, and it crinkles. Now, when you're doing this, you want to make sure that you do it slowly and that the stuff that's supposed to stay does, because sometimes it will tend to lift. So I tend to and sometimes you're just going to have to very gently kind of rip it a little bit. So just take your time. The temptation is to just do it really quickly, and you are going to need your weeding tool. Sometimes you just try and get these extra pieces out like that. Now we're going to start working on the other side here. Oh, see? Look, see that just jumped off there? So try and get it right away. Now, here is a case where I recommend having tweezers. The weeding tool is not good for replacing things, so always have a pair of tweezers as well. But generally, the weeding tool is good. And this is where you can kind of do like surgery. I feel like I'm doing surgery sometimes when I've got like this and this, and I'm trying to line things back up again. There we go. Successful surgery. This is why you want to make sure that you're doing it slow and you're paying attention to what you're doing. Because those little pieces, they fly. I've lost pieces because I did it too fast. And they just fly, and sometimes you have no clue where they went. And, you know, I've scoured everything trying to find these pieces. And sometimes you can get away with, you know, just leaving it out. But other times it's actually key to your design. You know, like a dot on an eye or something like that. And I've had to recut. So take your time. Use your fingers to hold things down. I find like little things like this. These are the little pieces that tend to come off. Now we're going to weed the rest of this here. So you can use a combination of your fingers. Infusible ink actually. So let's do one thing first. Before I throw out this piece of paper, let's just take a quick look here. Okay, it looks like everything's there, so I'm just going to take that piece out. And these little pieces of paper, they go everywhere. So I just tend to have a cup, old cup, that I can use just to put things in, and then just dump it out. Now, one thing about infusible ink that you can't do with other things is you can bend this. And sometimes when I'm weeding, I actually find it easier. You can pull it out with the thing. Works. See, I told you these little pieces of paper, they jump. Or you can also just bend it and pull pieces out with your fingers. So I usually do both. So in this case here, the letters have to... Oh, let me think this through. I think I did that wrong. Yeah, I did. This is why you want to keep your pieces. All right, in this case, because we want it reversed, this is a reverse design. I'm going to pull that out. We're going to put the squiggle back in. So one thing you'll find when I do these videos is I show you guys the mistakes I make. Because these are things that you're going to do, so I try to show you these things and just show you how you can fix them, or sometimes you can't fix them. Like in this case, this thing does not want to sit back down again on the tape. So you might have to really press it in there. So in this case, we're going to remove the lettering. And I find lettering, it's just easier to use your fingers with. Comes out pretty easy. Unless you're using maybe a really small script font, that might be harder. But in this case, the lettering comes out pretty easily. And we're going to remove this piece, being careful not to remove the center piece. There we go. Okay, that's looking better. Now sometimes these small pieces are better to and you see here where it didn't want to come out very easily, so we're going to do that. You want to make sure you catch all of this stuff where it's kind of half ripped. And the reason for it is it still could contain ink in it, so even though it looks white, don't be deceived. There could still be some ink in there, and it could show up on your mug if you don't remove it. So sometimes weeding is the most tedious. Oh, sorry, I keep moving my camera there. Sometimes weeding is the most difficult part. And can take the longest sometimes. I used to, as soon as it was done printing, I used to turn on my mug press, and it would be sitting there sometimes for a long time, already heated up. So I've just learned that I don't even turn my mug press on until I'm done weeding, or mostly done weeding. Because some days it takes longer than I thought. Alright, at this point what I'm going to do is I'm going to fast forward it, because you've seen me do enough of this and all the hints and tips and tricks that you need. Alright, I am done weeding. Now, before you put the design on, you always want to make sure that, you double check it. Make sure that, little piece of paper did not find their way back on. This paper is sticky, and you'd be amazed what it tracks. So just make sure there aren't any little extra pieces of paper on there. Sometimes it just picks up things, but that's fine as long as those things are not inked. And you're just going to double check your design to make sure that you've pulled out all the little pieces that you need to. Because if you don't and you put your design on, once the design's on there and you've baked it, there is no turning back. So at this point, you want to prepare your mug. So you want to take a little bit of rubbing alcohol on a paper towel or on the cloth that's provided. And you're just going to give the mug a good wipe down. Again, trying not to touch the mug again. And I always just give the inside a quick little wipe as well. Alright, and then you're just going to let that dry for a moment. Nice thing about isopropyl alcohol, it does not take long to dry. All right, now you're going to take and you're going to put the design on. And you're going to just line it up there. And you want to line it up on the top and the bottom so that it is straight. So this is a slight bit bigger than the mug, which I'm surprised at because it is a Cricut mug. But just line it up along the bottom. And you're just going to turn it, making sure that the lineup keeps straight along the bottom there. And you want to pull this tight because you have to make sure that your letters are on there firmly. So in this case, you want to get that tape down as much as you can. Needs to be firm. Now it doesn't matter what the tape looks like. The tape can be crinkled as all get out as long as your design is not crinkled. As long as your design is flat against the coffee mug. Now the nice thing is the mug press does add pressure to it as well. So, but again, you want to make sure that it's, and you see now you've reversed it, but now you see the design looks proper. So I'm going to put this through my heat press. I will be back and I will show you the final result. So I've just pulled this out of the heat press. I had put it in for 180 seconds at 395 degrees. Now, nice thing about the Cricut mug press is it all has automatic settings for you. So now that you've pulled it out, the handle is actually not hot, but you always want to be careful. I always pull it out. I have the UV glove, so I always pull it out using the UV glove to begin with. And then I always use a pair of tweezers because, again, you do not want to burn yourself. So you want to be very careful. This mug is incredibly hot. Like my hand here, I can feel the heat coming off of it. So you can either let it cool down, or if you're like me and you get excited and you want to peel it hot, so you just peel it. And make sure all the letters come off. Because if you got to pull it off straight, because if you do not, and the letters slide along because it's still so hot, you can actually get ghosting and get additional ink on it. So there you go. Your coffee mug. May your coffee kick in before reality does. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to boop the like button. Also, don't forget to check out my Kim's Crafting Corner free membership where you can get new designs on a regular basis for your Cricut machine. Have a great day, everyone.